Hello everyone, my name is Omi and I'm delighted to be talking you through Formula 3 and Formula 2's recap here on the GRID Encore show as well. Nikola Solov was the winner in what was a brilliant Formula 3 sprint race. That's exactly where we're going to start with Formula 3, and it was action-packed. It's one of the best sprint races that we saw in the category, and it was a great way to start off the season properly here at Bahrain International after getting it going in Australia. We had some brilliant racing, and that's exactly what was predicted. Over on JBMotorsports, we had an exclusive little clip of Chris McCarthy, the World Feed commentator, who told us about how this new car was going to properly come into action this weekend, and that was exactly the case. We were able to see how good the car is, and it's definitely an improvement on what we had last year, and we didn't really think it could get any better, but it somehow just did. So yes, as I mentioned, Solov took a record equaling fourth win, as the all-time record for wins in Formula 3 is 4, and he'll be looking to break that later on in the season. We had Freddie Slater making his debut in the category, and he was the driver who managed to get second place. Now, he is an Italian F4 champion. Just for a little bit of context, he broke Antonelli's record in that series, and he is a driver who is regarded in the next Verstappen, Hamilton type category as well, like how Antonelli was granted when he came up through the ranks as well. So that's the level that Freddie Slater is. And he immediately proved that after getting a 10th in qualifying, he was immediately able to get in there and fight with Solov. It was a great battle all the way through, and he just missed out. He tried to even go for the move at the last corner on the last lap, but it just was a little bit too short, and the Red Bull Junior was able to hold on to take the win. But Slater has shown us his talent, and he's going to be one to watch for the future for sure when he does get outings in the third AIX seat that isn't filled. They're just putting different drivers in depending on their schedules. Tuka Tappinen was the driver in third, backed by the Ferrari Academy. Then it was Callum Woysen in fourth position for Rodin. Stenchorn was in fifth, and then it was Tim Traminitz in sixth position. Sandro Giusti, part of the Williams hold as well. He was in seventh. Christian Ho in eighth. Charlie Wurz was in ninth, and Noah Stromstead completed the top 10 for Trident in the sprint race, and Trident looking quick as well, just like they did in Australia. They continue that into Bahrain International, and we're going to hear more about them in the feature race later on as well. But Leon was just outside the top 10, not what Prema needed at all, as they are always one of the powerhouses when it comes to Formula 3. They weren't, unfortunately, able to get too many good results when it came to this weekend, and definitely they will be looking to bounce back when we head to Imola. That will be our next round in the category. Kamara was in 12th, and then it was Wharton in 13th, Louis Sharp in 14th. Boyer finished in 15th. Lawrence Van Hoopen was in 16th. And then it was Zagazeta Tassanapol into Pruvazak in 18th. Bruno Delpino in 19th. Roman Belinsky was in 20th position for Rodin Motorsport. And then we had Gerard G, who was directly ahead of Brando Badura, who is the son, of course, of Luca Badura. And then it was Javier Segura in 23rd. Loads of retirements when it came to the sprint race. That's how chaotic it was. Dufek retired. Dominguez retired. And then we had Ramos, Lecorte, Teofil Lyle, Ugo Gachukwu, and Nicola Marin Angeli, who were also some of the retirement of what was a crazy sprint race, as we mentioned. Great battling, great action, and we also had plenty of safety cars, as I mentioned, which did mean that the whole field was bunched up, and we had a 2-lap shootout to decide the winners. I also want to give a little shout out to Rafa Kamara as well, who recovered all the way after stalling on the grid from 12th. He recovered all the way back to his starting position, and it was a brilliant job from the Trident man. Now we're going to look ahead to the feature race, the big race that takes place on Grand Prix Sunday, where we hand out the same points that they're given in Formula 1. And it was Kamara who made it back-to-back feature race wins with a second win in the category. It was a brilliant performance from him. He had a bit of pressure from the man who finished in second, Callum Woysen. He got passed by Callum Woysen at the race start. Kamara brilliantly fighted back all the way through. And then it was some brilliant overtaking at the start, and then just pulling away and dominating from there. And he, of course, is part he's, of course, Brazilian. And Gabriel Bortoleto, when he arrived at this level 2 years ago, started his campaign as well by winning back-to-back feature races. So we can see the caliber of Kamara. He's topped practice in both Australia and Bahrain. He's topped qualifying in both Australia and Bahrain. And now he's also done the feature race. He is slightly cursed when it comes to sprint races, from what we can gather when it comes to our first 2 rounds of the season. But Kamara, he is going to be one to beat, and the field have a lot to come up with if they want to beat him this season. Callum Woysen, as I mentioned, was in second place. A good effort from him. But after Kamara was able to pull away, it was just a nice, easy race on his way to a second position, grabbing some decent points for Rodin. Tim Traminitz completed the battle, completed the podium positions, and he was a driver involved in quite a bit of battling. You had first and second, who were just high up the road, but from third downwards, it was quite a lot of fighting going on, and it was Traminitz who just got ahead and finished ahead of Tuka Tapin. And Nicholas Solov, of course, the driver who was the winner of the sprint race, was trying to fight his way through, and he was involved in a lot of battling with drivers like Stromstead, who finished directly behind in sixth, and then it was GSD, Boyer, Del Pino, and Christian Ho, who was our top 10. Charlie Words was in 11th. Lawrence Van Hoopen was in 12th. And then Belinsky in 13th. Santiago Ramos, who started 30th for both races, with how Formula 3 and also Formula 2 qualifying works. If you are outside either 11th or outside in F2, or for example 13th or lower in Formula 3, then you start there for both races in the weekend. So Santiago Ramos found himself with a bad qualifying, meaning that he was all the way back there and had to recover, and he was able to do it to 14th position in this feature race. Teofil Nall was directly in behind in 15th, and then it was Inter Pruvazak in 16th. Leon for Prema was in 17th ahead of Stenshorn in 18th, and then we had Dominguez in 19th, and Lacorte, part of the Alpine Academy, finished in 20th, and then we had Brando Badoba in 21st, Joshua Dufek in 22nd, Louis Sharp finished in 23rd, and then it was Javier Segura in 24th, Marin Angeli finished in 25th, and then it was G, Ugo Chikuru, Wharton, Zagazeta, and it was very disappointing for Freddie Slater, the feature race, because due to a technical issue, he had to retire in the early stages. So a huge disappointment for the British driver. But what he was able to do this weekend was show his talent, was show his class. And we're definitely going to be seeing quite a bit from him in the future. Now, that was Formula 3 for everyone. We'll be back in this championship directly before 1 week before the Indy 500, and that will be at Imola. So we really are looking forward to seeing how that category will go there. But we have a bit of waiting to do when it comes to Formula 3. But now we're going to move on to Formula 2. And it was very, very interesting once again when it came to the sprint race on Saturday. And that sprint race definitely had some of the wildest moments we've ever seen in Formula 2 ever since it's been running since 2017. Pepe Marti ended as the winner. From 11th on the grid, he made a double overtake on his way to the win, and there was so much going on. He made the move on the last lap as well. It was a race that went all the way down to the last lap. We had a safety car that completely changed the race up due to Esterson, who was the retirement, as you can see, in 20th on the results board. It completely changed the race, and it meant that Pepe Marti was able to fight her way through all the way to the race victory in what was an extraordinary finish. Rishaw was able to get second place, and he was able to make the move as well on the last lap, and he was able to get by around the outside of turn number 12, which was just absolutely fantastic to see. Now, the driver that would have been in third position originally was Joshua Dirksen, but he was disqualified from this sprint race, which means Dino Beganovic ended up in third. And Dino Beganovic is a driver who's got two podiums when it comes to the Formula 2 level, and both of them he finished in fourth, and he's been promoted due to a disqualification. In Abu Dhabi, when he got it in the sprint, it was due to a disqualification for Paul Aaron. This time around, it's due to Joshua Dirksen, but it does give him a podium place in P3. Oliver Goethe was in fourth, directly ahead of Arvid Lindblad, who's a hot prospect when it comes towards Formula 1 for the future with that outfit. Villagomez was one of our high contenders as well in both races, especially near the start. He really displayed some amazing driving when it came to the sprint race, especially near the start, as I mentioned. He was able to go on the attack and actually attack our top two drivers. So it was great to see Villagomez doing well compared to what we've been able to see from him in the past. Mini was in seventh, and then it was Fornaroli in 8th. Miata was in 9th, and Luke Browning completed the top 10. The top 8 score in a Formula 2 sprint race as well. Ambry Cordial was in 11th. Jack Crawford in 12th. Sammy Megatuni finished in 13th. Victor Martins was in 14th. And then Stanek in 15th. Miney was in 16th position. Bennett was directly ahead of Shields. And then it was Alex Dunne, who was really a driver who was going super late on the brakes to try and make some moves, and in this case, it was just a bit too over the top, and he even agreed with that it was just too much, and he definitely had to take a step back, which is going to be fantastic to talk about in a moment in terms of our feature race, which we'll do so in a second. But Alex Dunne, he was a driver who Pepe Marti and his engineer were joking about, that you're racing Alex Dunne, so be a bit careful. That was in the early stages of the race, but then later on after the safety car, Alex Dunne was going for some very late dive bombs. He was even doing it before the safety car, but especially increased when the opportunities were there even more. And it was a bit too late when he had incident and very nearly made contact with Fornaroli. And that would have been an incident which he would have straight lined if that really hit Fornaroli. So luckily, all was good. Fornaroli just about avoided, and Alex Dunne found himself in 19th. Now, Esterson, we referenced his name earlier on. He was the one who completely changed the race, and he was the one who gave Pepe Marti the chance to win, having started in 11th and give us 5 laps of what was Formula 2's, some of its most chaotic racing we've ever seen since it started in 2017. Montoya was also retirement in 21st position. And of course, as we mentioned, Joshua Dirksen was disqualified from the race. Now we're going to move on to our feature race. And we mentioned that it would get a little bit more interesting for a certain P1 man, Alex Dunne, giving Ireland their first win in their category. And we were able to hear the Irish national anthem for the first time since 1999 on a Formula One weekend as well. It was great to see. And it was the first win as well for Alex Dunne in general on a Formula One weekend, as he only managed 2 podiums last year in Formula 3. So it was really, really great to see him being able to fight up and all the way to the top step. And also, especially considering what happened the day before, where he went for late dive bombs that weren't on, where he was hyper aggressive with everyone that he raced against. He was able to learn from that, admit that he was at fault when it came to that race, and then assess and see what he could do better in the feature race, having started in 4th. And he absolutely did so, being able to have a good start after some of the drivers ahead did not get the getaway that they were looking for. And Dunne was just able to pull away then and make the move, first of all, on Fornaroli, pull away and basically say goodbye for the rest of the race. The pit stop phase was navigated as well, and he just had the pace of everyone in that race. And it was quite surprising to see, and I'm sure loads weren't expecting it, but it's really nice to see some surprises, and especially from a driver who really was able to understand what happened yesterday and correct it. And it's great to see that correction happen in under 24 hours as well. Luke Browning was the big threat. He finished in 2nd. He was on the alternative strategy, and he was the driver who went on the charge late on, but the tires fell away and he wasn't able to chase down Dunne, but it's still a good 2nd place. Now, Leonardo Fornaroli, our pole sitter, the reigning Formula 3 champion, of course, just finishing ahead of Pepe Marti. That was a very great battle to watch on the last lap. There was a lot of people who were saying Fornaroli definitely was quite rough with his driving, but he was hyper aggressive to try keep that 3rd position, and he was able to do so. Pepe Marti gave it his all, and that was a brilliant battle when it came to our last lap, which kind of took away from Alex Dunne's brilliant performance, and we were only able to look at it when we got out of the final corner rather than earlier on for what was a big moment in race 200 of the championship as well. This was the 200th race of Formula 2, and it was definitely one which had history, and it was great to see Alex Dunne picking up that win. But we'll go back to where we were, and that was Victor Martins in 5th. Vishal was able to get P6. Beganovic was in 7th, and it was Arvid Lindblad in 8th position ahead of Mini. Dirksen was able to get 10th in this race, and then it was Goethe in 11th, Villagomez in 12th, Cordial in 13th, Miata was in 14th, and then Megatunif was ahead of Jack Crawford, the American, finishing in P16, and then it was Stanek, Maney, Montoya, Bennett, and then Esterson and Shields. That was our order when it came to our feature race, and these drivers don't have long to wait till they go racing, as they're going to do so this week around the Jeddah Corniche circuit. So we cannot wait to see how the battle is going to go there and who's going to emerge in front, because it looks like it's an unpredictable Formula 2 season, and combined with that, we've seen some fantastic racing when it's come to every Formula 2 race that we've held since 2021 at Jeddah. So it's going to be a lot of fun. But Bahrain was definitely one of the thrillers of the Formula 2 season. We always love it when we come here, and it was great to see how the action unfolded. We had history, of course, as I mentioned, with race 200, and also a win for Alex Dunne. And then in the sprint race, we just had one of the most wildest Formula 2 races we've ever seen as well. So a great weekend for Formula 2 and a great weekend for Formula 3 as well. Fantastic racing. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Formula 2 can do in Jeddah and Formula 3 when it returns at Imola.